everybody, welcome to another mosaic tutorial. In this pattern we are working from the center out, working in the round. This mosaic crochet pattern features the granny stitch. These drop down double crochets in the front loop only are actually granny stitches. 3 double crochets worked into 1 stitch, and then we're skipping the stitch on either side in order to keep our ratios correct. This square was featured in the 2023 Granny Square Blanket Cowl hosted by Madam Stitch, and here I'm going to walk you through exactly how I did it. On my website you will find the free written instructions for this pattern. I also have a PDF available that's ad-free, includes the written instructions and lots of help, as well as the chart I'm using for this pattern. Okay, the chart looks something like this. I find the chart really helpful so you know exactly where to place the stitches for this pattern, because it can get a little bit confusing as we go around. Let's go ahead and get started crocheting this up. I'm going to be using worsted weight yarn in 2 colors. If we're going to make it like this, my color A is white and my color B is the green. To begin, since we are working in the round, start by making a magic circle. And then we're going to work 8 single crochets in the circle. Okay, I'm going to cinch that tight, and I'll be working an invisible join to join these rounds together. In order to work the invisible join, you find your first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's that stitch right here. I'm going to take my hook out, and I'm going to insert my hook through both of those loops in the back going forward. Next I'm going to grab my yarn with my hook and pull it through both of those loops. That's how I do it. I just pull it tight, and I just really like how that looks like an invisible join. So that is round 1. Now for this pattern, something you should know is that every other round we're changing colors. So we'll work every other, okay? Each round is worked in a different color, and then we're going to do the invisible join after each round. From now on, whenever you see a single crochet, it's going to be worked in the back loop only. These first ones we did just regular single crochets, and now we're going to be working in the back loop only after every round. This is how I do the color change. So I make sure that I have a right side and a wrong side. I'm going to leave the tails on the wrong side, and I'm just going to slip stitch to join. Okay, then kind of pull the yarn tight. I'm going to do a chain 1 to kind of level it up. Just make sure that we're tight here, and now we're ready to begin round 2. This is how all of the rounds are going to start. We're going to change color, do a chain 1, and then we're going to work a corner. So a corner is worked by doing a back loop only single crochet in the first stitch. So make sure you know where your front loop is, this one down here, and your back loop is one back there. So we're going to go to the back loop only. Now for this first stitch, I want to find the end from color A, and I want to work over the end of just this first, just that first single crochet, because I want to be able to carry my yarn through just that one stitch. So then I'm going to be doing a single crochet. This is English terms, thank you. Okay, back loop only, single crochet. Now I'm going to drop color A, and now I won't be carrying that end anymore. Then I'm going to do a chain 1, and then a back loop only single crochet in that same stitch I just worked. And that is how you work the corner. Every corner is worked in the same way. We do a back loop only single crochet, chain 1, back loop, single crochet. Then in the next stitch, back loop only, single crochet. And then I'm going to be working another corner. To work the corner, remember, back loop only, single crochet, chain 1, back loop, single crochet. Now I'm just going to be repeating that all the way around until we reach the end. So back loop only, single crochet, corner, which is the back loop, chain, back loop, then again, back loop, single crochet, then a corner. Okay, here's our last corner. Okay, then in this stitch, back loop only, single crochet. All right, and then that should be the end. This over here is just our connection spot, chain 1. Now, as before, we're going to be doing an invisible join. So I'm going to get my hook, remove my hook, find the first stitch. Don't do this one because that is just the chain 1 space. Here is the stitch we're going to be working through. Our first stitch, we're going to go through both loops, grab the yarn loop, and then pull it through our stitch. For round 3, pick up color A again and do a little slip stitch, pulling that tight. Okay, start out by doing a chain 1, and then we're going to work the corner. Now all of the corner stitches are going to be worked into the chain 1 space of each corner. So each corner is the back loop only, single crochet, chain 1, back loop only, single crochet. What we want to do is find the chain stitch, and then we're going to do the back loop only of that chain stitch. Okay, we're going to be using the front loop later on, so just do the back loop only. And for the first stitch, we want to work over our color B. The color we're not using, we want to crochet over that for this first back loop only, single crochet. And we'll do a chain 1 and drop color A again behind. Now in that same corner space, we're going to work another back loop only, single crochet. Here already we're going to be working our granny stitches. I label these in the patterns flogs, F-L-O-G-S, front loop only granny stitch. A granny stitch is 3 double crochets worked in the same stitch or space. So in order to work this flogs, front loop only granny stitch, we're going to skip the next stitch and then work in this next stitch, but we're going to work in the front loop only 2 rows below. Okay, if you know anything about mosaic crochet, you know that there's these front loop only double crochets or these drop down double crochets that are worked 2 rows below, and that's how you get the pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to be covering up these 3 stitches with a granny stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, and instead of working in the green here in color B, I'm going to be working in the white down below. There's a front loop that's left over from when we did the back loop onlys in round 2. So I'm going to go and grab that front loop and finish off my double crochet. Okay, so that is 1 stitch, and now I'm going to do 2 more. So we have 3 stitches, which is a granny stitch. Okay, and that's how you work your front loop only granny stitch. Okay, you'll do the front loop only double crochets in the same way, but just work 1 instead of 3. And now we're going to skip the next stitch, and we're ready for our corner. You know what stitches to skip is if you look at the round before, you know we need to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, since a granny stitch is 3 stitches in 1. Okay, so then you're going to find the corner stitch, which is this chain 1 over here, and we're going to work another corner. Back loop only single crochet, chain 1, back loop only single crochet. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on all these other sides. All right, so we're going to skip 1 and then find that center stitch the front loop 2 rows below, and work 3 double crochets in that stitch. Okay, skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then in this corner, work your corner stitch. One tip in order to make these corners nice and crisp is work your first single crochet, back loop only single crochet, work it like you're finishing that side so that the work is held upright like this. Then do your chain 1 and then turn your work, because now you're going to be working on this side. So that's a nice way to get the nice crisp corners. Now do your second corner stitch, and then we're going to work our flogs again. 3 double crochets worked in that front loop only 2 rows below. Okay, now work your corner. And then we have one more, flogs. What a fun word, flogs. Okay, and now we're at the end of this row, this round. There's no more stitches here because we're going to be skipping the last stitch, and then we're at our corner we've already worked. Find the first stitch and do our invisible join. Now it is time for round 4. I know that my even rounds, I'm going to be using my color B, and my odd rounds, I'm using color A. Chain 1, and we're starting out with a corner. So find that corner stitch, make sure that I carry my color A through the back, just for that first stitch. Drop it behind for the second one. Here we're going to have our first front loop only double crochet. This is just a single double crochet, and it's going to be worked in a very interesting spot. So just stick with me. Here on the round 4 in white, we have our corner stitch here that is worked in the back loop only of a chain stitch. The front loop of that chain is kind of small right now because it was pulled tight, and it's this little bump right there. I hope you can see that. I'm going to be working the front loop double crochet into that spot. So I've yarned over, and I'm going to find that front loop, which is right there, and I'm going to get it, and it's going to grow. Okay, it's not always going to stay so tiny. And I'm going to work a double crochet, just one double crochet at chain, and now I am going to work back loop only single crochet in the granny stitches. So 3 back loop only single crochets. They're on the top of those 3 stitches that make up the flogs from before. And then it's time to do a front loop only double crochet once again. It's going to be done in the chain 2 rows below, the front loop of the chain 2 rows below. So it's the same little spot, same sort of deal as our first one of the round. And there we go. And now we're ready to work our corner. So we'll be working in the chain 1 space from before, and work the corner. Okay, now if you've been following the instructions, you know we're ready for the front loop only double crochet in the chain 1 space 2 rows below. This is where you might get tripped up. It's the same chain that we used for that front loop double crochet we just worked. So we just need to find it again. and work another double crochet in that same space. So that little tiny front loop that we saw before now holds 2 front loop only double crochets. Then we do 3 single crochets on top of the flogs. And we are ready once again for our front loop only double crochet. And we're ready for the corner. You find the chain 1 space, okay? If you have a hard time finding out where your corner is, just line your stitches up, okay? You did 1, 2, 3 for your flogs, and now you've done the front loop only double crochet. So you're gonna kind of skip this stitch from the back side, and then you know that your corner, so that's your single crochet, and you know that your chain stitch is the one right after that single crochet in the corner, okay? So work your corner as before. I sound probably annoying by now, but you do your single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and you're ready for your front loop only double crochet. We're working in that same space. 3 back loop only single crochets, and then a front loop only double crochet. In that front loop, 2 rows below that chain stitch, and then another corner. And then the front loop only double crochet. I don't think I'm working that one on the right spot. There we go. I was doing a front loop, but it was for the wrong stitch. Okay, now we're ready for our last stitch. That last front loop only double crochet. My yarn split, sorry. And then we're ready to do our invisible join. Pull that yarn tight, change colors, and chain 1. Work our corner, work over that yarn, find your chain 1 and do your back loop only single crochet, chain 1, drop the yarn that you've been carrying, single crochet. Okay, this is where I think the chart really helps, so that you know where your stitches are, but you just kind of follow along. So you've done your corner, and now you have this single crochet and your double crochet, 3 single crochets, double crochet, single crochet, chain 1. You're going to work 2 back loop only single crochets in a row, 1 per stitch. Okay, your second one's on top of that double crochet. We're always working in the back loop only when we do our single crochets. Now we're going to skip a stitch. I'm not going to work anything into this one, and we're ready for another flogs. Your front loop only granny stitch. You're going to be working 2 rows below into the front loop. Okay, here's the front loop from the first stitch, but we skipped that one. So we're going to be working here. Front loop only granny stitch. 3 double crochets in that front loop. Okay, then we skip the next stitch, which is just that 3rd double crochet stitch. And then on top of that front loop only double crochet in green, we're going to work back loop only single crochet. And then again in the next stitch. We haven't yet worked anything into this stitch before, so this is our first time we're going to work it into. It's the first single crochet of your corner stitch, and that's where that second front loop only single crochet. And now you're ready for our corner. Okay, I just wanted to point out that you have worked your flogs, and now you have essentially 3, 1, 2, 3 3 back loop only single crochets, then a chain 1 and a front loop only single crochet. So that'll come in handy when you think about that 1, 2, 3, because on our next round we're going to be working the flogs right there. Okay, so I worked the corner, and now I'm going to do 2 back loop only single crochets to the next 2 stitches, 1 into the next 2 stitches, and then another flogs, which will be worked in the center stitch of that granny stitch below. I hope by now you found out that this is not as intimidating as it looked before. Okay, 2 front loop only single crochets. Nope, 2 back loop only single crochets. Have I been saying the wrong thing this whole time? And then you're ready for your corner in that chain 1. Okay, and then 2 more back loop only single crochets, and we're just repeating around because now we're ready for our flogs again. And our corner. One more flogs. See, I just got confused right there. Make sure, if you don't know where your stitch is, make sure you count 1, 2, 3, and do your stitches that way. So you know which ones you're skipping and which ones you're not. So this last single crochet is a little bit hard to find because your chain 1 is kind of on top of it. So I like to bend back that corner, first corner of this round, and then you can see this stitch I stitched right there. So work your last single crochet on top of that one, and then you're ready to do your invisible join to end this round. There we go. Okay, I'm going to show you one more round because this gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to be moving onto my green once again. Round 6, you're going to start by doing a flogs. So skip 1 stitch when we're thinking about where we're going to place our flogs. It's going to be into the green, into the front loop 2 rows below. And the first stitch would be that chain. So then the second stitch is right here. So that's where I like to put my flogs when it's right after my corner. Okay, because then you're going to skip this next stitch, which is on top of that double crochet, and then work 3 single crochets on top of the white flogs. Okay, some people do like to work their flogs on top of that double crochet. You can choose to do that. I'm not going to hold you to it. Whatever you think looks better for yourself. Just for consistency, I'm using doing it on top of the front loop of that single crochet there in the middle. Just because I work all of my flogs in the middle stitch. Okay, now I'm ready for the corner. I like to think that the flogs accounts for 3 stitches every time. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. The pattern is going to continue on in the same way, very similar to what we've been doing before. And it kind of just repeats itself mostly. Where right now I'm working these flogs right here. And then just as you get bigger, you start adding more and more and more of the colors, so that you get all these different, I don't know, what are these, stripes or crosses or, you know, whatever these little doodads are. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope that you found it really helpful in conjunction with the written instructions and the chart as well. If you like this pattern, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a crocheter you think you might find it interesting. Comment down below with whether or not you've ever worked a pattern similar to this before. Was there anything in the video that you found extremely helpful? Leave me a comment below and let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I like to use interesting stitches like these to create all sorts of home decor patterns and stitch tutorials. I have a lot of yarn related content on my YouTube, so make sure you hit that little bell so you're notified every time I come out with a new video. Guys, thank you so much. I just appreciate you being part of my crochet community. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.